Hi everyone, this is your host Alo. Welcome to the Score podcast. Thank you so much for being here. And in the beginning of my podcast, I would like to just take a few seconds to take some deep breaths and to thank our bodies for all the work that they've been doing for us. I have my singing bowl right here next to me, and if you're able to just close your eyes and relax, take a few deep breaths while you hear the sounds. Today, we'll be talking about what self-love is and what self-love looks like. I'll be talking about my personal self-love journey and about others' experiences as well. Also, disclaimer, I am not a therapist. I haven't studied psychology. I am just simply a college student, and this is all based off my personal experiences and observations. So I just wanted to put that out there. Nonetheless, I believe that sharing what I've learned and what others have learned is valuable. Learning from one another is an amazing way of improving ourselves because we're able to incorporate new ideas into our routine or to make some changes to our mentalities even. Firstly, I would like to briefly introduce the 5 love languages if you're not familiar with them, because they'll help us navigate the ideas that we'll be discussing today. The first being acts of service. This can look like cooking yourself a favorite meal, doing your laundry because that's something that your future self is going to be thankful for. The second being words of affirmation, so talking to yourself kindly, confidently, treating yourself as if you've achieved everything you've been wanting to achieve. The third being physical touch, so maybe give yourself a massage or go get a massage. The fourth being spending quality time, so spending quality time with yourself, meaning like uninterrupted time only for you. And this can be even like just being in your room, chilling, blasting your favorite music, and doing absolutely nothing or doing whatever you enjoy doing during that time. The fifth being gift giving. This doesn't have to be like, buying yourself a big thing or a very luxurious thing. This can mean maybe you buy yourself a small thing once in a while, something that brings you joy, like maybe a dessert from your favorite cafe, once every month or once every time that you feel, down, or whenever you need that extra self-love. Now, getting into what my self-love journey looked like, I thought my self-love journey was going to be a linear process. I truly underestimated how scary and difficult it was going to be. Because self-love to me was more about slapping a face mask on and calling it a day. But I realized that the self-love journey is way more complicated than that. During your journey, you come face to face with your deepest insecurities and with the most embarrassing things about yourself. And during this journey, you're also, being honest with yourself and reflecting on some of your toxic traits. What do you not like about yourself? What are these things, and can you fix these things? After coming to terms with that, that's when you'll actually be able to work on those areas and hold yourself accountable. Like I mentioned, I thought that self-love was kind of like a destination, but I quickly realized that wasn't reality. It wasn't something I was going to attain and just keep forever. Self-love is ultimately a relationship with yourself. It takes consistency and practice. And just like a relationship with someone else, you need to put in the work and you need to invest time and energy and simply care for yourself the way you would care for someone you love. And I'm not going to lie, the self-love journey, like I said, is difficult. You're going to fail so many times, but the point of it is to keep going and keep learning and be consistent because you are worth all that effort. And self-love sometimes is making those big, scary decisions, like leaving a relationship or leaving a workplace that is affecting your mental health. Sometimes it's not fun. There's a lot of unsexy work that needs to happen behind the scenes for you to actually see improvement and to ultimately become the best version of yourself. Once I became aware of all these things, I felt less obligated to remain in places where I wasn't being appreciated. I left unhealthy friendships that offered me no room for growth. Every time I talk about growth, I think back to middle school because I had this best friend and I was friends with her for like 5 or more years. And she was a really cool person. I mean, she was a very popular girl in our middle school. And I was kind of more like shy. I wasn't that talkative back then. I was kind of like just insecure, middle school things. But I made the conscious decision of just cutting her off after 8th grade because I knew then that this person was just not invested in my well-being. I mean, she would say things to make me look bad in front of others, and I would just let it slip, honestly. I didn't even bring it up. I was just like, whatever, that's how she is. Sometimes she would make comments pointing out certain insecurities of mine, and, probably she did it unintentionally, or probably she did it intentionally. I mean, I don't know. I don't like to assume. All I knew was that it was just not a healthy friendship, and I just needed to get out of there. And although some may say, well, that isn't too bad. I mean, it was like kid stuff. Well, yeah, it was kid stuff, but it's crazy how I knew back then that I just loved myself too much to allow those situations from happening continuously. And, sometimes for the sake of saving a friendship that you do appreciate, you want to just, ignore all those little things that, probably you might not want to lose this person because they're very important to you. But see, even at that age, I made the decision of risking having no friends if it meant that I was going to get myself out of that situation. And honestly, I did miss this friend, and I cried sometimes because I was like, wow, like, I'm never gonna have a friend like that. I mean, yeah, I was like middle school, but I was still very deep in my feelings or whatever. And I mean, I still have love for her today. I mean, I acknowledge and appreciate all that she did for me. She was there for me when things got difficult, of course. She was always such a fun and amazing person, but it just got to a point where I just didn't want to keep up with that. I didn't want to keep her in my life and ignore the toxicity for the sake of keeping the friendship. Even today, I look back and I'm like, damn, I really did that. I really made that decision. And I'm so glad I did, because I became more confident and I learned the importance of having healthy friendships and relationships. I learned that it was important to just choose wisely who you keep around. And I made sure to protect my energy. And I hope that, you learn to protect your own energy and that you're not allowing others to disrespect your presence or your time. When I was brainstorming about this episode, I brought the topic of self-love to my family during the weekend, actually. And we all talked about how we each performed acts of self-love. And I thought it was just really interesting. And I thought I would share some of my family's responses along with some of my own observations. My mom's love language is gift giving, and she expresses self-love through buying herself a plant every 2 months. And it's so cute because she comes back from Costco and she's so excited about her new plant, and she shows me. And I think that, it's really amazing how that small thing brings her so much joy. And I can see how that's a form of self-care. On the other hand, my grandma, her love language is quality time. And my grandma loves praying. And at first I didn't really understand this. I mean, besides her devotion to God, I think that praying for her is a form of meditation. Giving herself that time and that space is her form of showing self-love. My way of expressing self-love is through quality time with myself. So just giving myself that space to journal and write down my thoughts, write down the things that I was grateful for that day. Just giving myself that space to de-stress and breathe is it's just something I need. It's something that makes me feel better whenever I'm feeling stressed or whenever I'm feeling anxious. It's always a good thing to just write it all down and put it down on paper, because That way, it helps me to get some peace of mind. We are approaching the end of our podcast, and I would like to just leave you with the 3 main takeaways of today's discussion. The first being spending time with yourself, learning the ways in which you feel most loved, because self-knowledge is self-love. The second being knowing that self-love isn't a linear process and that you're going to fail many times, but that's okay because you're human and that's the point. It's about learning. The third being protective of your energy, being mindful of who you keep around. And I know that this episode doesn't include all there is to self-love. I mean, it's impossible to cover everything in a few minutes, but I hope that what I talked about helped you in your own journey, or at least inspired you to begin this journey. Thank you once again for your presence. I wish you all the beautiful things there is to life, and remember that you are worthy of love. See you soon.